In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Welcome to the Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire podcast. So here we are again then with the Westerer is Besterer podcast. Joining me once again is Martin. How are we, Martin?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you doing yourself?
Yeah, very good, very good. Now, we should let people know before we start that normally we record this over Zoom. So we can see each other and we can flick the V's to each other and we can make funny faces and all of this kind of, but we're trying something new and we can't see each other this week.
Probably for the best.
I was going to say, is that a better thing or not? But yeah, it's fingers crossed if this works, mate. You know, tickety-boo, your best of both worlds. Can do it in the nude next week. Do you know what I mean? Lovely.
I can go on a tour around my house.
Yeah. So how has your week been, mate? How's let's skip Saturday for a second. Let's take Saturday out of the equation. How's the rest of your week been?
I've had a bit of a bad week, if I'm honest with you. But my boy ended up in hospital yesterday. They thought his appendix was rumbling. Thankfully, it wasn't. But they think there's might be something wrong with his pancreas. So. Got 4 weeks of back and forth having blood tests with him, which is going to be fun.
Oh, nasty, man. Nasty. Best wishes to him, because that's... how old is he?
He's 8 now. He'll be 9 now on the 23rd.
Mm.
And while we're on the subject of him, he is meant to be the mascot for this Saturday's game. So I'm hoping he's going to be all right. If not, I think his little sister's going to have to fill in for him.
Yeah, or you. Somebody's going to have to fill in, mate. Just have to go on your knees and crawl or something, but you know, stick him in you've got to get him at this somehow. You've got to stick him on your back.
I'm normally on my knees after 11 o'clock at night anyway, so I'm probably used to it.
I hope he gets better soon, mate. I hope he gets better soon.
Fingers crossed for him.
Fingers crossed, aye. Well,
how about you?
I have lessons again.
Ooh.
On Tuesday, yeah, and there was some twirly bits and some steppy bits, and then there's this thing called a hammer lock, which is kind of like you twirl each other around, but you don't let go of the hands, and then you like untwirl them, and that was quite bizarre. So yeah, you know, I
always thought a hammer lock was like a wrestling move or something.
I think it might be one of the two. I think it might be very similar. But certainly when I was dancing with the wife, there were a couple of times where it was a bit like a game of Twister. You know, when you end up and you're going, how the hell did we get here? But yeah, we're getting there. So anyway, let's dive in with the Scarlets game last Saturday. So I tell you what, before we start with our views on the game. So every week on our Facebook page, we do after every game we do a 3-word reaction post. So couple of the 3-word reactions from after. I got to be honest. I mean, I've only got a few here, but they were pretty much all of a similar vein. So Hugh kicked us off with absolutely bloody pathetic. And Hugh wasn't done with that because he came back and 3 words is obviously not enough for Hugh because he wanted 6. And then he gave me Gets Worse Weekly. Dave Green in long season ahead. Yeah, I think so. But then that's 2 ways. You know, there's a lot of time to turn it around. Tristan Williams didn't mince the words. He was quite annoyed. I can't read what he said. But if anybody wants to read what Tristan said, it's still on our Facebook page. Don't show your kids. Yeah. Kevin Lemon, he wants his money back. Mandy Tucker says there's room for improvement, which is quite tame. And then Patty race. Now, when Patty put this up, everybody else just stopped. So I think Patty put them in their place. Patty said, still support them, which, with
Fair
with 3 games into the season, and those first 2 games, we definitely could have, probably should have won. So, what did you think of
it?
it?
Statement against Ulster. I mean, we could have won. Should have is a different question.
No, I think if those decisions that have gone our way, if those referee decisions that have gone our way, we were back to within score, within a try, and momentum would have shifted.
I get what you mean. Like I said last week, 15 v 15, we did win, but unfortunately we only had 15 men for an hour.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? So,
another problem going to this week as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So, what did you make of this week's game then? What was your overarching kind of feeling from this week's game?
It left me frustrated more than anything. It's just a few things that you look at as, you don't have to be a professional player or have any experience of that. You just be watching and thinking, you're not going to win a rugby match like this. I mean, one of the first principles of rugby, as anyone should know, or anyone who's done any coaching badges, is get the ball. I mean, we didn't have the ball for large periods in that match.
And when we did, we kicked it straight back to them and went, go and have a run with it. It didn't help, did it?
No. I mean, overall, like anyone who's listened to this podcast, and you'll know yourself, I'm very much a glass half full guy when it comes to the Scarlets. And personally, if it wasn't for the Johnny Williams injury, we would have gone on to win the game. At that point, we just scored another try, 26-23. Momentum was in our favour, 10 minutes left. I do honestly believe we would have gone on to win the game.
Yeah, me too. And I put something out on Twitter saying that we've got this. I think I genuinely just felt, we were down to 14 men and then really fighting. And when we were down to 14 men, it's like a switch flicked, and the boys, actually, I got to pull my finger out now. Yeah, and I mean, up until that point, it felt like we were just relying on Blade all the time. He was the only one that really felt like he was fronting up, And then after that, I was convinced. I was convinced we were going to win it, and like you say, you could see the pain in his eyes when he knew that he's out of the autumn internationals. He knows that the pain that he was feeling there, that's the autumn internationals gone for him, and more than likely, that just throws a massive spanner in the works for us. And if he's out of the autumn internationals, then you've got that, right, okay, that gives somebody an opportunity to come in and stake their place. And then you've got World Cup and, all of that stuff's going through his head. And he's sitting there going, just that one thing. But yeah, it's just frustrating though, wasn't it? Wasn't it frustrating?
It is really frustrating, especially for him. He's had a couple, I think it was his calf again last season that kept him out for a while. But one thing will come from this is that we will finally see or finally know what Dwayne Peel thinks of Corey Baldwin at 13, because he's confirmed that Johnny Williams, Scott Williams and Joe Roberts are out for this game. So it's either going to be a case of he shifts Foxy to 12 and brings Corey Baldwin at 13, or he keeps Foxy at 13 and he brings in Eddie James at 12, which basically says, Corey Baldwin, you're not going to be playing 13 for the Scarlets.
Yeah. And, we weren't the only people saying that maybe Foxy needs to not start a game, should we say? Because I just think he's getting shown up. He's getting put on his arse. He's getting skinned around the outside. There's not.
We're saying all this, and he said himself that this is the freshest he's been in over a decade. because it's the first time since something like 2008, 2009 that he's had a full pre-season. So for this to be happening now, it does beg the question of where he is at as a player. And I know we've spoken about him at length last week, week before, so on. But it's just a hard time in his career, and as a fan, really, who's obviously watched him his entire career from the time he was a wee nipper in the under-20s, going overseas to Clermont and back again.
But then again, and trying to make the best of a bad situation with Worcester, going bust, you've now got people available in Worcester that, maybe could fill that void, couldn't they?
Potentially, but one thing with Worcester going down, I'm saying this up front, bring Harry Dole home. He has got pace for days. And the few appearances he has made for Worcester, he has shown that. And I think we could do with having him back at this minute. Yeah,
he didn't make many appearances. Because Owen Williams was there as well, wasn't he? And he didn't make many appearances for injuries and this, that, and the other.
I can remember Owen Williams because he played that one game in the LV Cup against Leicester, and that's what made them think we won this boy. And they took him. He had a few more games for us till the end of the season, but that was it. They saw something in him. They wanted him. Bang, gone.
Well, when he was playing for us, I thought he was quite a decent, because he wanted to play 10 and we wanted to play him at 12, wouldn't it? And he was a bit like, no, I want to play 10. And Leicester said, come on, play 10 then. And I just think if he came back at inside or outside centre, it just gives us a bit more creativity behind the, we have got some decent players there, but like we've said quite a bit, there's no one obvious there to fill the shoes that Foxy leaves. And
I mean, there was one obvious player, and unfortunately he's been snapped up by the Dragons in the last few days, and that's Stefan Hughes.
Yeah, but see, I like Steph. I do. I met him a couple of times. And I just, as a person, it just wasn't that. I think we're blessed with Foxy being at such a high standard for so long. And you kind of expect to, if somebody's going to come and replace them, you want them to be at that standard. Do you know what I mean? Not that standard down. And I just never felt that Steph kind of made that breakthrough. He had a couple of little bits where you thought, yeah, okay, you can kick on from here and, a bit more of this, a bit more of that. And it just wasn't that kind of consistently being excited at watching him play. So
I think it was his pace that let him down after his ACL injury quite early in his career. I think that stopped that attack inside of his game, which he, could have pushed on for a bit more individual excitement.
Well, we'll have to wait and see who he puts at 13 and 12 now. Like I say, I thought Scott Williams was a bit closer to being back, but we'll have to see what comes. But the other person that just cannot get any luck at all in terms of injuries, Josh McLeod.
Was it 26 seconds, something like that, when the actual contact was made?
Yeah.
And
have you seen the contact?
I know it's a flat forearm as he's putting his arm up, but that elbow cracks him.
Yeah, and it wasn't even reviewed.
No, I haven't looked into the actual wording of the law around it, so I can't really say 100% whether or not it was legal. But it didn't look good, and you could see he was sparked out. There wasn't going to be a HIA. If you're unconscious on the field, that's you're off. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that the TMO didn't come in and go, well, actually, no, I'm not surprised that the TMO didn't come in, because that's the kind of standard TMO that we got at the minute. But that TMO should have, he was down and out on that pitch for quite a while. It wouldn't have taken much for him to, let me just have a look at that, that contact.
Well,
let me see what's
on the floor, like?
Yeah, and his head position, his head position was in the right place. There was nothing wrong with where he was. It was the fact that the guy came with a leading arm and an elbow. Now, I've seen
you
players...
can see from the behind view that he'd started dipping, he was getting ready to duck in for the tackle, and bam.
Yeah. But I've seen players go for less. I've seen yellow cards for less. I've seen red cards for that sort of a thing.
We've seen yellow cards for less in that game.
Yeah, exactly. And it just, we spoke last week about standard of TMO decisions. I said it's not about the referee. I've not got a problem with the referee, because if the referee's not looking in the right direction, if he's following the play and it's somewhere else, all right, this incident was in the play, but it happened in it's a fraction of a second. That TMO has got all those camera angles and all the time in the world. Just make the right decision. And for him not to get
look at it.
That was his 100th Scarlet's appearance. And you look on how long he's been out injured, and he's still made 100 appearances.
And he's still a little young kid as well. He's only 26.
Something like that. He's in theory coming into his prime as an open side flanker at a point when there's about 25 other world-class open side sevens in Wales, unfortunately. But, he still does the business week in, week out. So, yeah, I was gutted for him. And it kind of, all right, Blade came on, and Blade had a cracking game. I thought he was our man of the match. He was everywhere. You could see there was a fire in his eyes. He was hitting rucks. There was one set of rucks, I think there was 3 rucks, where he was on the side of a ruck, took a player down, he was up, he was there for the next one, made the next tackle, and then on the third ruck again, he was over the ball. He was proper fired up. And you're just like, yeah, but it just felt like he was doing too much on his own. And it didn't, that fire, that passion, that aggression, that desire that was there for the Ospreys game and for the Ulster game just wasn't. And I don't know if it was the preparation or whether it's the performance, because one is down to the coaches and the other is down to the players, but it's usually a combination of the two. I just felt if we'd have taken the attitude we had in those first 2 games into that game, we'd have had it. We'd have won quite comfortably. And, Benetton are a good side now. You can't get away from that. They're a really good side.
No disrespect to them. They're incredibly impressive at home. They are doing everything they can, and they rotate. You can see with the selections they've made, first round, second round, third round, they are giving boys the opportunity, and they're keeping their big names fresh. Because they targeted their first game, was it Glasgow, I'm going to say?
Yeah,
and
Glasgow,
they did the job. They made something like 8-9 changes for Leinster because they knew they were up against it. And then they made a handful of changes because they wanted to win at home against us, and credit to them, they did.
And I think that they'll be, I'd put them at about 8th in the table, something like that. If they keep winning their home games, they may well be above 8th. So, it's not easy going to Benetton and when they're on their home turf, and you can see the crowd is coming now. The crowd is involved in the game. It just feels competitive. Every week now in this league is competitive, and there isn't a take your foot off the gas game. You have to be flat out, full on every week. And if you're not, you're going to get found out. And I think we just got found out last week. I genuinely do. I think we missed Costello a lot. I really do. I think as much as Dan's a good, he can control.
He's a good option. He's a good kick in 10.
But then we kicked about 50% of our possession away in the first half and didn't recover any of it. I think there were 5 or 6 crossfield kicks that we didn't get anywhere close to, And
but that's more of a credit to the Benetton defence than it is the individual kicking. because I didn't think we were far. I didn't think the kicks were far out of position for where you would want your winger fullback to be trying to compete for it.
But then, why are we kicking if it felt like the call had been made that our tactic today is we're going for a crossfield kick, and after the first two, you could see that their wingers were sitting deep, and they were waiting for that crossfield kick. They were hanging out, and they were so. If you can see that, why stick to that same tactic? Do you know what I mean? Let's mix something up.
Yeah. It's not unknown that Benetton are one of the biggest and pretty close to the best kicking side in the league. So defensively, in that aspect, they're going to be pretty good as well.
Yeah.
So we really need to if it's not working, first, second, third try, just switch it up.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm surprised how quiet Patch was when he came on. It just didn't feel like he got into the game. He had a couple of nice touches, but he didn't feel like normally when he comes on, he really stamps his authority on the game, and you can tell he's running it. He's in control of the game, and he just blended into the background. He didn't. It just felt like an off day for everybody. We didn't see.
Well, what I noticed with Patchell is when he comes off the bench, there's going to be two sides of him. There's either going to be the fired up Patch or the one essentially to say to make up the numbers. And I know it's not a nice thing to say, and I've got no disrespect for the guy, but you tend to find within his first 3 or 4 touches when he comes off the bench, he's either tried to punch a hole or he's made a pretty impressive pass to try and put someone into space. And I think one of his first touches was an intercept. So it kind of, I don't think he's a confidence player, not at all. But it was just something there today. Well, not today. On the day.
Yeah.
That just didn't click in for him.
So, where do they go from there then, mate? Where do they? We got Cardiff on Saturday. And I will be there. I will definitely be there this week. But with Cardiff on Saturday, I tell you, yeah. But with Cardiff being in that same kind of position, it feels like Cardiff are in a more desperate position than we are with all their off-field stuff, and they haven't.
Even if you take the off-field stuff out of it, you look at their performances, and then you try and look at them in context. They won their first game against Munster. Dragons beat Munster, and then Munster hosted Zebra, in Limerick, and they only managed 3 tries. That's more of a say against, this Munster side is not performing, so a victory against them at this particular point in time isn't that impressive.
But I think Cardiff have played well for the first half in all of their games so far. In all of their games, it's been their first half performance. So against Munster, they pretty much won that game in the first half. I forgot what they played second, but they should have won that. But they were level. No, they got stuffed in against Glasgow, wouldn't it? But at half time or 10 minutes, that was it. They got a yellow card like 5 minutes before half time or whatever, and then conceded 2 tries before half time and another one after half time, and then. Against the Lions, again, at halftime, they were in the game, So
I think it was a pivotal point, the last few minutes before halftime against the Lions, when they conceded that penalty try. That was the turning point in that game.
Yeah. So they seemed to play well for let's say 35 minutes, and then they switch off. So you look at the way that we've started our games, it's like we don't bother for the first 10 minutes. All 3 of our games, even the Ospreys, we weren't really on the park for the first 10 minutes, and that kind of worries me for this Saturday. Is traditionally, because I'm traveling up from Pembrokeshire, takes forever to get to, and it doesn't matter how early I leave, I always seem to just miss kickoff. I think the only time I have ever got to a game on time. And even when I was bringing my boy up for like halftime stuff, so we'd have to go in the barn early and say, so I was fine with that, but we'd be late getting to the barn. They'd say like, be here for 4, and we'd be there for 4:30 or something stupid like that. And like the very first time I brought my boy to watch a game, and he was obsessed with, I need a hat and a flag. So we had to go to the shop before the game, and we watched the kickoff, standing at the till with the TV behind the till, buying him his sodding hat and scarf and stuff. So I'm wondering if being 10 minutes late this Saturday might not be such a bad thing, to be honest. We might just miss the worst bit of the game. Yeah, I do worry about that start. The way we've started the game so far, would just, if we do that against Cardiff, and Cardiff's strength is the start of the game, if they put, their best players so far, Falatau and Max Llewellyn, if they're both on the park, Llewellyn running it inside centre, and our best inside centre is in the treatment room.
And the second best.
Yeah, it's so, that bit worries me. But I think if we can deal with that first 15, 20 minutes, Cardiff will just implode. That's just the way they do things. They just not.
That's their fantasy season.
And I just hope that we've got, if our front five stands up and lets our back three, our back row kind of do what it needs to do. Yeah, doesn't matter who we put in that back row. The quality in our back row is at a level.
It doesn't matter who we put in it. We've only got 3 fit players.
Well, there we go. So the side is selecting itself already. Well, we got what? Calamafoni. Lozana is back now, isn't he?
I'm not 100% on Lozana. I haven't seen anything to confirm or deny that.
Yeah. And then Blade. That's not a bad back row, And if Fafita's in there as well, that's another back row. Sam Lousy, he could easily play 6 if he wanted to. Do you know what I mean? So we've got essentially a back 5 that can play a back row. It's whether or not we've got a front row that will front it up.
It depends who gets selected more than anything, doesn't it? I mean, I'm anticipating a front row of Wyn Jones, Ken Owens, and Sebastian again. Well, not again, but for the first time against Cardiff.
I was going to say
we need to do the same thing and really front up.
I thought Sheriff played all right when he came on. I thought he had a bit of oomph about him. You could see he wanted to. He wants to be back in time for autumn internationals. He wants to be, that's his spot, and he wants it. I think it'll.
Yeah, without meaning any sort of disrespect, he is an old man now. This is last chance saloon for international selections and the World Cup at the end of the season. So he really does want every second on that pitch to be worthy of something.
Yeah, and that's why I think. Do you know what? If he sits out of the autumn internationals and he stays with us for match fitness through autumn internationals and then goes back for Six Nations, I think that would probably do him better. Because if he goes back now and he gets injured again, that's it. That's your World Cup gone. That's if you pick up a nasty injury now. You look at Liam Williams at Cardiff. 15 minutes, well done, congratulations, bang, falling on your shoulder, that's your World Cup gone, So I
get what you're saying entirely, but in regards to match fitness, if you go back a few years, I'd say, yeah, probably 100%. But now with us not having even the Anglo-Welsh games during these internationals, it is just a 3-week block of no games. And I don't see how that does anybody any good. 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks is a lot.
I'm just, like you say, given what I don't want to do is put him back in and he gets injured. Just for him, for us, for Wales. Do you know what I mean? I just think
Yeah, but you can't look at it that way. This essentially is a business, and he is our best hooker out and out if he's fit, and if it's in his plan with the coaches, then he plays. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
There's no wrapping him in cotton wool anymore.
No, I want him playing for us, not Wales. Just for the autumn, so that he's there and he's still rocking and ready to go for Six Nations. That's what I'd do with him. But I want him to come back, and something needs to spark in the Scarlets that takes us from, we nearly beat Ospreys, should have beaten Ospreys. Ulster, we ran them close. A couple of decisions gone the other way, and we should have beaten them. Benetton, all right, there were two key decisions in that thing for that game for me, two TMO decisions that kind of really, really influenced that game. We haven't even spoke about Combia's yellow card, which was just ridiculous. So, we're not far away from having just won 3 games. Do you know what I mean? I know we'd not won any of those 3 games, but all 3 of those games could have been wins. And I just think we just need a spark, a little bit of something that takes us from we should have won that to we won that, and we won that handsomely. And then I think we'll kick on. I think we'll, that play will open up. We'll start throwing it out the back. We'll start kind of running the silly plays from behind our own line. But do you know what I mean? When that confidence is there, you've seen it with the Dragons. You look at the confidence in the Dragons after one game, one decent win, and all of a sudden, they think they're in line for the European Cup. That's what a win will do for you.
I think everything needs to be taken in perspective as well. I mean, it wasn't that long ago we lost the first 4 games of the season and went on to win the entire thing. So a draw and 2 losses, and 2 tight losses at that, isn't the end of the world.
I remember being at that 3rd game, and I was there with my head. Yeah, I wasn't, but I remember being surrounded by people going, right, that's it. He's at it. He's got to go. This is a pile of junk and this, that, and the other. And I'm a bit like, hang on a tick, because he took over from Easterby halfway through the season before or something, didn't he? And then we were 3 games into the season. And what I remember from back then is we were kind of throwing offloads that weren't quite sticking. They weren't quite finding the hands. And I remember looking at it and going, hang on, if 2 out of those 6 offloads stick, we've just won that game. It's that was the difference. And then they started to stick. Then they started to go into hand. Then the confidence built, and that's where I think we kind of similar are now. It just needs that bit of a boost in confidence, and we're off. We're running. But I think Cardiff. I think they're probably a bit more desperate than us at the minute in terms of
desperation goes 2 ways, doesn't it? It either kicks you in the right way or kicks you in the wrong way.
Yeah, and we said about Cardiff at the start of the season as well, where they've got like about 28 back row players, and then nothing anywhere else. It's how many open side flankers can you have in one squad? And even now, half of them are still injured. So, I don't think that they're firing anywhere near where they thought they would be. But yeah, is it too close to? I'd say we probably got it this weekend. Again, it depends. I think if Costello's in the team and Gareth Davis, I'd say we got it.
I'm a little bit apprehensive with saying Gareth Davis will be in the team, just because I don't know if anyone else noticed, but when McLeod got knocked out, the cameras panned to the sidelines, and you could see Gareth Davis going to put a big bag of ice up on his quad. So I don't know if he's going to be available or not.
No, I didn't see that. But then, we've got strength in depth at 9. I thought Hardy on Saturday was quite poor.
Yeah, Hardy's a bench player for us, at least, I think. 100% every time he comes off the bench, he is pretty much on top form starting. He just, I don't know what it is, he just doesn't do it for us.
No. And whereas Dane Blacker is pretty much, every time he just seems to be in the right place for scoring tries, pretty much every game. I know he didn't on Saturday, but he is, in the right place for scoring tries when he comes on.
Yeah,
so
we spoke about it a few weeks ago that he was the top try scorer, our top try scorer last season. I think you said it was.
Yeah,
and he's not far behind Hardy or Gareth Davis. He really is nipping at their heels.
Yeah. And it would be good to see him up against Thomas Williams, actually. And actually, I reckon, Thomas Williams, for all of the, he's got most of the Cardiff press in his back pocket, but he's having a shocker of a season already. He's dropping balls, he's kicking poorly. His confidence has been rocked somewhere, and it's not working for him. Whereas Dane Blacker, probably could give him a real proper shock on Saturday. I reckon so, and I'd like to see him do it because he's quick.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with Thomas Williams. It seems to have been for a long while now. If he plays at 100%, he is probably the number 1, number 9 in Wales. But I don't think we've seen him get over 70, 80% for well over a year.
And I think that's the problem. I think it's a problem in Parker Scarlet, and I think in the Welsh camp as well, is selecting players on 2 seasons ago through. We're not selecting on form. We're selecting on, I think that they're probably going to do a decent job, but I don't know.
I mean, I do get that you look at the last tour or last campaign, whatever it was, and go, okay, they were our starting 15, so they are going to be in the squad, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be in this 15. If you get what I mean?
Yeah, I think, I tell you what I was pleased with was Halfpenny, coming back and actually surviving. How long did he did the first half? I think he went off halfway through the second half, I think, or start of the second half. And, that was a relief to see him substituted. Yeah, and not being taken off on a stretcher or something. And I thought
I was quite surprised to see Halfpenny's name in the starting lineup, mind. I thought that when I read the news, Halfpenny's back, I thought he was going to be on the bench. I did not expect him to have a good hour on the pitch.
Well, and this is the bit that I think will really crucify Cardiff on Saturday. You look at how many penalties they give away, particularly in the first half, and then you go, well, we'll just leave the tee on the pitch, give it 5 minutes, we're going to need it because Halfpenny's going to slot it from somewhere. So I think that may well be how we survive that first half. I think if we're in that game at half-time, we will put Cardiff to bed in the second half. Quite comfortably.
Yeah, I'm fully confident of a win against Cardiff, but saying that, I've been fully confident of a win in every game so far.
Exactly.
What do I know?
Look where it's got us.
Yeah, another point from this game, and I know we mentioned it, and it was a really big game for Steph Evans, and I thought that for who he is and the player that we see now, he had a decent game, but there was about 3, I think it was 3 opportunities where I thought if we had Rogers, Combier or McNichol on that ball, we would either have been in for a try or a try scoring opportunity. Yeah. I think there was one early in the first half. He took the ball on the 15 and there was plenty of space outside. There was another one, I think, around the hour mark where he was basically chasing the ball towards the try line. Yeah. And he was just done for pace. Yeah. And then the last one was the lead up to Johnny Williams' try. It was the kick and chase that led to the line out that led to his try. And I was thinking, when he took our ball, if it was any of the other 3, they would have put their foot down and they would have beaten the man.
Gone.
I'm not saying there would have been a try from any of them, but I'm saying there would have been a more clear-cut try-scoring opportunity.
Yeah. And I think, as a winger, he's more of a get involved, make the space, the jinx, the sidesteps, he's more of that kind of a winger than he is an out-and-out pace kind of a blitz. And
you stick him in and around the ruck. The 1-2 passes he does with Gareth Davids or Hardy or whoever it is, it does beat players in that close proximity.
Yeah, but then, like you say, once you've broken that line, you need to be able to finish it. And yeah, I think he's probably another one that you look at and go, probably 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, yeah, he probably would have finished it. And he would have had that pace. Maybe it's the hair. Maybe it's the hair that's holding him back, because he's growing a bloody mullet again. Did you see his haircut?
I didn't pay much attention to it.
For crying out loud, he's gone back to the mullet. And you think, there was so much hope at one point. And then, you can only blame COVID for so many things with the haircuts. And, you got free reign. You've got a whole town full of people to go and cut your hair, and that's what you choose. Come on, fella, sort it out, But, yeah, crazy, mate, crazy. So what is your prediction then for this weekend? Let's put some numbers on the table. And what's your
numbers on the table?
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a win. Give me I'm just trying to work out in my head how it's going to go down. So Halfpenny's going to be on the pitch. There's going to be a fair few penalties going over. So
yeah, at least 12 points from Halfpenny.
Yeah, I'm going to go 37-24 in our favour.
Bonus point win?
Oh, definitely.
7, yeah, definitely.
Both these 3 penalties.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit closer. I'm going to go 30-25. There we go, 30-25. Yeah, I think it'll be a bit closer, but I think I'll be moaning about the TMO again. I think it's just the standard of refereeing and TMOs so far this year has been poor, and I'm just fully anticipating another weekend of going, for crying out loud. My pause and rewind button at the minute. Gee whiz, man. It's like being 17 again and discovering porn.
You can't see the pictures on the remote no more, can you? They've rubbed off.
But you know what I mean? When you just look at some of those decisions, and then it just makes it worse when you rewind it and it's so clear cut and so obvious. But yeah, that's my fear for this weekend, is that we're going to be in that same boat again, and we're not going to take that game into our own control. I think if we take that game into our own control, we're closer to your score than mine. And I think if we allow them too much of the game, we'll end up relying on referee decisions and this, that, and the other. And so far this season, just nothing has gone for us. When it goes to TMO or referee, it's just not going our way. And I can't see it changing against Cardiff unless we take it, unless we dominate up front, we don't give them the ball, and we do all the basics really, really well. So that's
put the referee on the sideline. He is not a part of the equation.
Yeah, and I think that's the way we've got to play it. We've got to, we've got enough players in that squad to do that quite comfortably. So, yeah, so that's my prediction for the weekend. I'm going to 30-25. So what I'm going to do, is I'm going to start keeping a track of our predictions, because I didn't think we'd get this far still making predictions, I'll be honest with you. And when we get to do we'll come to doing the local predictions in a minute. So I'm going to give us an idea next week of a head-to-head as who's better at predicting stuff. And just see where we are. And then hopefully at some point one of us will go, oh yeah, we're really, really good at predicting this. But yeah, that's my next bit for next week. So before we move on to the local games, there's a couple of bits that I want to cover off. So first of all, like I said, I'm going to be there for the game on the weekend. Yeah. So are you going to be there as well? Are you going to be up there?
Boy's meant to be mascot. If I'm not there, someone's going to be disappointed.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely. It
wouldn't be him. I'd be the one that's disappointed. I'm making that clear right now.
Yeah.
It's not for him.
Stand there. The referee's blowing the whistle. Stand in the middle and just wait for the ball. Just stand there and run with it. Yeah, what I thought we could do is maybe we'll put something out on our Facebook page, and maybe we'll try and capture a couple of people before the game and a couple of people after the game, and instead of having like 3-word reactions, we'll actually get, we'll try and record a few people up there and what have you. So
are they a predictions for the game, is it?
Yeah, and just kind of how are they feeling. They might go down the pie queue at half time and get a couple of reactions as to how people are feeling and what have you, just to kind of, I think it gives people a sense of what it's like to go to a game, Yeah,
if you go to the queue at half time, you are going to miss the second half, but it's worth it.
I went to the queue at half time once, and I was stood at the back of one queue, and as I turned round, I was literally stood next to the queue for going the other way. It was me and this guy going like, well, which queue are we in, But yeah, so we might do that for this weekend and see who we can get. So the other bit was you saying this off air about the Llethley RGC game last weekend, and I looked at that team list. I was like a full Scarlet side there. That's ridiculous, and they lost.
It was. I think I did say it to you. It was 13 Scarlets in that 23, and this bit is even more important when we talk in a second. 7 of those were starting forwards.
Yeah, I think it was only the Llethley captain who the second row, wasn't it, who wasn't actually a Scarlet.
Contracted as Scarlets in some way or form, innit?
Yeah, but yeah, I was expecting them to give RGC. I mean, don't get me wrong. The idea of getting non-playing squad members to play for, whether it's Scarlets or Carmarthen Quins or Llandovery or whoever, fully on board with that. And it's not like, you can't say, if you're putting like 2 or 3 boys into a side, you can't say, oh, they don't know the system, or they don't know they don't know the team, or they haven't trained or whatever. There's 7 forwards there that train as professionals with the Scarlets every week. Yeah, it was a bit
embarrassing.
Yeah, it's a good job we didn't do 3-word reaction after that, really, wouldn't it? They would have been.
I think people would have been more annoyed that they put the Scarlets boys in there. I'm like, why are they here? You just took a thumping.
And I don't understand. I say I get the idea of putting them on a pitch and keeping them playing. I'm totally on board with that. And I saw a lot of young boys, a lot of academy, like senior academy, or just out of academy boys playing.
Yeah, so the back row was Shenton, Giannini, and Ben Williams. So they are either final transition academy or first pro contract.
And wasn't Caleb Salmon on the bench as well?
Yeah, he was on the bench. I think was he covering lock or back row? Do you know?
He's both. He covers both. He's kind of a 4-5-6.
He's a hybrid, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, he is now that he's got a decent haircut anyway. So, yeah.
I think I've only ever seen him once, and that was literally more or less the day after I saw his first sign-in on the Scarlet.
Where he had the mop.
Yeah.
Well,
the big mass of blonde just flopping everywhere.
It was brilliant, mate, because I used to coach him at County when he was at Pembrokeshire County. And he's like one of those shaggy dogs because he used to have it down over his eyes. So everybody else was taping their heads up to kind of like keep their ears tight so you don't get cauliflower ears. And he's taping his head up to keep his hair in place. keep his hair out of his eyes. So, no, he's a brilliant player. And that's what I don't understand. You know, there's the quality of players there, Shenton, Giannini, Caleb, they were really good players. These are top class good players. How, no disrespect to RGC. RGC, there's a couple of boys in RGC are ex-Scarlets as well. Rodri King is, he's a Scarlet boy. So, and he's Wales under 20 as well. So
it weren't that long ago. Bradley Roberts was knocking it up at RGC as well. So they do pick him up. Yeah.
And that's what I just kind of, they're a decent side, but come on, boys, that should have been put to bed at half time. That should have been a run out for the second half. That should have been a bloody training session in the second half, shouldn't it? But
and then when you look at the match report as well, and you find out that even Llanelli's own match report says, yeah, we got mullered up front. There's no optimism whatsoever. We won our own scrum ball, but other than that, we got... I can't say it because we'll be removed from the site.
Yeah. No, it's you're right, mate. It was I don't know. It might just be a blip. It might be one of those. They might have, it might be one of those learning games where actually they just thought, we got this wrapped up. This is too easy. And that switch on wasn't there. And, there are no uncompetitive games anymore. No matter where you go or what you do, every single game you play is competitive. So, it's,
That could have been one of the things for RGC, thinking, we're basically playing Scarlet's A today. Let's do them.
Yeah, let's give them welly. Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. When those boys that are coming through, let's hope that they've learnt from it. And there's nothing gives you a bit of a. Every now and again, you need a foot up the jacksie just to keep you sharp. Then you just need a little bit of something. So cool. Okie dokie. Right. Let's have a look at local games then, Pembrokeshire games. So we did the rundown again on Saturday night. You could tell I wasn't.
You did the rundown. I'm not taking any credit for that. That's 100% you. I'm saying this, and I haven't actually listened to one. I'm really sorry. I haven't listened to one of the 4 rundowns. So if it's brilliant, it's brilliant for you. If not, I'm saving myself.
If you sneeze, you miss it, because I literally just go, blah, 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 3 minutes and we're done. It's I could do it in the advert for Coronation Street or something, but there we go. So the fixture that stood out for me that we spoke about last week as well, Narberth and Neath. Narberth were winning at half time, mate. And Neath came back and took it in the second half, but they were winning at half time, and I think they're 6th or 7th in the table. 2 wins, 2 losses. Yeah, but you look at the quality of teams above them, and they're either competing with or have beaten some of those teams above them. So, when I say there's no uncompetitive games, that's absolutely, that league is really, really competitive now. It is. There is no easy game in that league for anyone. So I think they're doing really, really well. It was at some point.
I was fired up for Narberth last week. I really was. And I think it was my emotions that controlled them for the first 40 minutes.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. There's that level of constant improvement. So I may even get to watch a home game with Narberth at some point. If I could get into a bloody car park there, life would be a lot easier. If they had a car park, you could use.
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of
Come on.
The bit that annoys me with Narberth car park is, Narberth's a small little village, really. The amount of agricultural land, flat, and when I say flat, I mean proper flat agricultural land around the outside. And you go, you could quite easily move the ground, 500 yards that way, and you've got a choice of selection of fields to go on. You could have car parks, you could have this, that, and the other. And I know it's a massive expense, and they've just had 3 pitches basically relayed, flat, drainage, the whole shamonky, massive investment, just nowhere to park the bloody car. But
maybe they should have done the 2 pitches and made a proper car park.
Yeah, there is that. So they could, they do use Bloomfield House up the top, but to get from Bloomfield House, so they've got car parking in Bloomfield House, but to get from there down onto the pitch, you need your waders on. At this time of year, you need your waders on because it is like a quagmire going through there. But you never know. You never know.
If fundraising for Narberth car park. That's our first list on the agenda.
Our first big campaign, get proper car park for Narberth. But no, I think from a rugby point of view, I thought, the reports that I've seen, the forwards are fronting up, the backs are fast, they're fit, they're aggressive.
The results are showing. I know it's still early days, only 4 games in. All 4 impressive performances. Yeah,
absolutely. And the other game that impressed me was Crymych. I know it was a draw, but there's no backward steps being taken this year at Crymych either. So and again, it's kind of they're close to the top of the table, not absolutely top of the table, but I would not be surprised at all to see them further up come the end of the season. I think that I know when you play at home in Crymych, if you're going to play in Crymych, it's like playing in like some kind of alternate universe sometimes, where it just doesn't seem to, the weather systems in Crymych just do not match what the rest of the planet is doing. So they've always got that on their side. But fair play to them to be where they've been, the results they put in this year, and by all accounts they were unlucky not to win on Saturday. So fingers crossed, could be a big one for the rest of the season to watch on those ones. So is there anything that you picked up from the weekend? Stato, come on, Stato. He's got his list somewhere, hasn't he?
Here is Kusia.
Yeah, I knew you'd have it somewhere. Yeah.
I've got pages and pages and pages. They're mostly blank, but they need to be filled in. No, there's 2 results I want to pick up from the weekend, and it's both wins, Llangwm and St Davids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I think it's awesome. Like we've talked about the issues that Llangwm have got, and not only have they put out a side, but they've had a pretty comprehensive win, which is, just well done. Round of applause all round. That's absolutely amazing. And then we've talked a lot about St Davids, we got to get fancy dress themes, etc., etc. But they've gone away from home, and they've done Llanybudr over.
Yeah.
I've just got a smile on my face talking about it, and it's awesome.
Well, they are 2 of the smallest clubs in Welsh rugby in terms of the place that they're in, and the area around them. If you don't know where the Llangwm pitch is, you are not finding it by accident. It's not an obvious kind of a place. It's a tiny little village where you drive through and you go, oh, that was Llangwm. Oh, right. Oh, I'll turn around and go back.
And then you miss it again.
Yeah. And, I saw their social media over the weekend, and fair play to them. Make hay while the sun shines, guys. You could just feel the joy for them and St Davids. And both clubs they've got people in them that really care about the club. and you can tell that there's lots of things that they're trying. They're trying to bring people into the club, into the clubhouse. They're using the clubhouse as a hub for the village. And you just got to say crack on, boys, because it's I'm delighted for both of them. But when we come to do this week's fixtures, we are going to be torn because St Davids are playing Llangwm. So that's going to be a crazy.
Look at my book. I'll see if I can get it close enough.
Yeah, go on then.
It's the very last fixture on my list. I've got my predictions, and if you see right there, where that finger is, I've got abstain because I'm not picking one.
Yeah, fair play. That's the one to sit on the fence.
I'm going to abstain for the official records.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I do mine with a little. So I got mine on a spreadsheet, and I'll highlight who I think is going to win. And I was doing it this afternoon, and I was going, St Davids, no Llangwm, no St David, draw.
I think we've got to make a point. Obviously, not this weekend; it's a bit short notice, but we have got to make a point of getting to a St David's Llangwm match at some point, either this season or next season, and just get some live video feeds going.
Yeah. Got to be done, isn't it? Got to be done. Right, let's go down the list then. So let's start with Narberth at home to Berry.
Nice and easy. Narberth going to win that one.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of the youth boys back in the day, being from the area myself. My cousin's house, actually, the back door opens up onto the pitch, which was brilliant at the time. Used to go down there on a Saturday, and we could just have a few pints in the back garden, and then open the door. Game was on. It was awesome. But no, they've had a pretty poor start to the season themselves, and they lost to Bedwas at home last week. We've done over Bedwas. They come into our park. We're winning that one.
Yeah, I got them for a win as well this weekend. Aberystwyth away in Felinfoel.
I have been torn with this one, and I'm looking at Division 1 West, and I'm seeing 6 teams that have got they're in prime position to make a run of it.
Yeah, it's close, isn't it? It's close.
Felinfoel and Aberystwyth are one of them, but just because this is a Pembrokeshire podcast, and they technically within our remit, I'm going Aberystwyth.
Yeah, and do you know what? I was in the same place. I could have gone either way on that one, and I went, well, yeah, we're going to back Aberystwyth just because they've liked quite a lot of our stuff, and I quite fancy. I had when I was way back when I was playing. No, way back when I was playing. We played Aberystwyth as the last game before our last away game before Christmas. 2 years on the bounce, and both times I got kicked out and banned from the nightclub in Aberystwyth on both of those. I wasn't the only one. But
but you were 36 at the time. It's not.
Yeah, I wish. No, I got a soft spot for Aberystwyth purely for that reason. So yeah. So Crymych are away in Gowerton. Who are you calling?
This is another, top of the table clash, 2 undefeated sides, but Pembrokeshire, Crymych, all the way.
Yeah, well, I think Gowerton are top at the minute, aren't they? But I think, you say, it's so close. I think Crymych may just nick that. And again, when I was playing, I played in Gowerton, didn't get kicked out anywhere there, and it is a nice flat open pitch. I think that'll suit Crymych. I think that'll suit the way that they play in this year. They got some real quick backs, really, really quick backs. And if they can put them on a nice wide park and just go enjoy yourselves, boys, I think they might just nick it. So Pembroke at home to Pencloud.
Well, this is the battle of the winless sides. But you gotta take Pencloud's losses in a bit of perspective, because they haven't had any big losses, and they've come against Felinfoel, Aberystwyth, and Gowerton. three of the teams pushing for the title. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say Pencloud.
Yeah, and me too. And as much as I really don't want to, I mean, Pembroke are on my list of people to interview. So Geraint from Pembroke. I don't think he'd really want to be interviewed at the minute because, I know the boys there are working hard and I know that they're putting the effort in, but it will come. But same as you, I don't think it's going to come against Pencloud. I think they're going to start picking up wins at the end of the season when people are like got nothing to play for. And I think it's going to take a while for them to re-establish themselves at that level. So, yeah, unfortunately, I've gone for Pencloud. I hope I'm wrong. On that one. But, yeah. So, Whitland away in Hendy.
Again, this is another quite difficult one, but I'm just going to say on the basis of what we've seen out of Whitland this year, it's going to be a Hendy win.
Yeah, I've got to say, although they're quite close in the league, but yeah, I just think home advantage, Hendy, yeah, it could go either way, but home advantage I think is what will do the job there.
Take it over.
Yeah, Fishguard at home to Nankaredig.
Fishguard.
Yeah, see, I've gone the other way.
Really?
Yeah, Sue should kill me. He would. He'd be giving me a right jabbing in the eye. But I think Nankaredig are flying at the minute, and I think it genuinely depends on the weather. When you're playing in Fishguard, if the weather's on your side for half the game, you can beat anyone there. But I just think Nankaredig are doing well at the minute, and I think that they're quite likely to win the league. So, yeah.
I had some logic in here somewhere with my stats, so I'm looking at the results from the last few weeks, and I can't think where I've picked it up from.
Well, Fishguard have had a good couple of wins on the bounce.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
I think the only loss they've had is Pontadlice first weekend, and they are looking good.
Yeah.
Well, they're looking like the potential top contenders at the minute.
When I played against Pontadlice, right, this is how long ago when I was playing, we beat Pontadlice 105-0 at home when I was playing against them. That's how long ago I was playing against Pontadlice. But yeah, there'll be some boys listening to this, and I know that those boys are listening to this going, "Oh God, yeah!" And they had the bus driver on the wing, and he didn't even have a pair of boots. He had to play in his shoes because nobody had a spare pair of boots for him. That was a long time ago. So Tenby are away at Kidwelly. What's your call there, mate?
It's a Pembrokeshire podcast. We got to go with Tenby. It was Tenby versus Mumbles in week 1. It's Kiln Park versus Carmarthen Bay this week.
Yeah, I think that they're going well. They're going strong. They got a good team this year. Yeah, I back Tenby as well. But yeah.
I've got some logic for this one as well.
Logic.
Tenby beat Mumbles. Mumbles beat Kidwelly. Tenby will beat Kidwelly. It's going to go that way.
That's as far as it. Well, okay. Italy beat Wales. Wales beat South Africa. Therefore, Italy are world number 1.
There was games either side. Come on. You've got to use the follow-on games.
So, Milford at home to Pontadlice. I've gone for Pontadlice again, just because of what we were just talking about. They are pretty hot this season, aren't they? And
I wanted to say Milford. I really did. But you just look at it and you go, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And I think they Milford have struggled a bit this year in terms of consistency, but it's still early in the season, so fingers crossed it'll come. Who have we got next? Aberaeron at home to Cardigan.
I'm going Aberaeron. I went for Haverfordwest against them last week, and I was wrong. So Aberaeron, I'm picking you.
Yeah, and this is as close as it comes to a local derby, I think, for Aberaeron, because the choices are, yeah, it's Cardigan or Aberystwyth. Those are your local derbies. But yeah, and particularly playing at home, I think Aberaeron. Cardigan are struggling at the minute, so yeah, I've gone Aberaeron as well. Larne at home against Llanybother. Larne are having a cracking season. They are. They're another one of those sides that it's a tiny little place. It's not a big, massive, town with hundreds of people milling around. It's a tiny little place, and they put a real good run of games together so far this year. Larne up. So yeah, I've gone Larne to beat Llanybother. I think they'll pull that one off quite comfortably. I do.
I've got a small confession to make.
You haven't got it, have you?
I forgot Larne.
Oh, right. Well, when I come to doing the score,
I know they beat Cardigan last week, so I'm sticking with them.
Oh, so you pulled that one out of the bag because you were going to automatically forfeit a point to me on that one. So a proper local derby now. Then Neyland at home to Haverfordwest.
Both struggling. You can't say they're not. But I think Haverfordwest they've got to pick up our form from last season somewhere. So I'm hoping that on the third time of picking them, they will. Well, fourth time I think now. Actually, fourth time's a charm.
I reckon there's going to be about 6 yellow cards. The referee's going home in a taxi. Yeah, it's always one of those games where I think Neyland at home. I'm going to put Neyland to win in probably the dirtiest game of the season so far. I think there's an ambulance on standby for each half because it's just the way it is. It's just the way
they're going to go through 60 players on Saturday then.
Yeah, it'll be a tight, close, abusive game. It'll be brutal, but it's not one for the. You're not going to win any fans of throwing the ball around and all of that. This is a tight, nasty, nasty game. But yeah, I've tipped Neyland to come out on top on that one just because they're at home. So
you tipped Neyland just so it's the opposite to me. That's
well, yeah, I've got to pick up points somewhere. I've got to pick up points somewhere. So next we got the Quins, Pembroke Quins at home to Lampeter. So I've gone for the Quins there just because they're the Quins and they're at home.
Yeah. Same boat, mate. Same boat.
Yeah. And then we've got our nightmare game. St Davids at home to Llangwm. So first things first, as always, when discussing St David's games, we need to see the fancy dress. It is officially.
I've got one, and I think it's going to be very practical because time of year, the heavens are opening. Let's go Mexican, big sombreros.
Ooh, yes, yeah, because Llangwm is full of them at this time of year. There's a whole sombrero shop down by the river. Yeah, I think it's going to be a cracking game. I don't actually know what the change colour is because they're both, well, officially St David's have always been gold and black, and Llangwm have always been black and yellow. So. I don't know what the Llangwm change kit is. I don't know if they're just if they go skins. Like in the old days. Oh yeah, so yeah, so maybe St David's playing skins, just like the old days.
They're turning their shirts inside out. That's what they'll do.
Yeah, I've played against a side that did that once as well.
Yeah, everyone has. I mean,
yeah,
you play for long enough in any sport. You've got to come across that at least once or twice.
Yeah, I've gone for St David's just because it's home, and I think St David's are playing the better rugby. But I'd love to see that game. I would love, Yes,
like I've said, I officially abstain, but St Davids has got my little comma next to it.
Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully. So I have got a little bit of a match report from St Davids for last weekend. That was something. Well, it was something like, I think
you were talking about St Davids earlier. Why you waited?
No, it literally went. It was a really good game. So,
you just got me really excited.
I know, mate. I know.
You did that.
But there we go. So, so the last league game then is St Clair's away to Tregaron. Again, I think St Clair's are playing really well this year. Tregaron are struggling, so that's an easy one to call for St Clair's. And now the game
I done that little league rundown, back in August.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's not on any of these podcasts. It's a little bit too early for that. But I put St Clair's to basically be the number one, and I did put a certain other team from Haverford West to be with them. But,
how's that going for you, mate?
It's based on statistics. It should have worked.
And hasn't. Okay, so the other fixtures to go through. So I don't know if you've got this in your stato book. Okay, so County Under 15s play their first game of the season on Friday night. It's home against Cardiganshire, or Ceredigion, sorry, down in Hayward Lane in Tenby. So it's on our Facebook page. So all the details are on there. They got a really snazzy team kind of announcer thing. In the olden days, you'd have a piece of paper and you'd stick it on the wall, wouldn't you? They've got this little triangle thing with like the line going round and go whoosh, 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 like this, like really proper stuff. So that's Friday night down at Hayward Lane. So I've obviously gone for a thumping win for Pembrokeshire on Friday. I think the boys are absolutely going to stuff them, and if any of those boys are listening, just go and enjoy it, boys, because that shirt, when you put that shirt on, it means something. It means a lot to you. There'll be a lot of people watching that game who are not associated with anybody on the pitch. They're just associated with the shirt. And at some point in the future, a lot of you boys playing on Friday night, you'll have that same thing. You'll see that the County Under 15s are playing, and you'll go, do you know what? I'm just going to go and because you know what it means to those boys on the park. So fingers crossed for this week.
I'm on the Facebook page now. I'm having a look at that, and there's that little neon triangle going around and around. It's
weird, isn't it?
It's
hypnotic.
I'm looking at the 23. So the loose head prop, his name is Cruz. So you know what, he's scoring a handful of tries on the weekend, 100 meters as well.
So the only other fixture to look at, and I keep missing this fixture, and I promised Aled that I would make sure that I got it in there, is the college fixture. Now it's weird because it's difficult because we're recording this on a Wednesday night, and so they played today.
You have the result?
Yeah, I mean they lost 61-7 away at Ysgol Grant Haf, and I know they're having a tough season. I know they're having a really tough season.
Track, really, when you're a young kid.
Yeah, and everywhere is, and when they're up against it in terms of facilities in all of that stuff that we spot. But again, there'll be a couple of guys from the college listening. Stick with it, guys, because it'll come. It will come, and when it does, you look back on these and you'll go, do you know what? Look how far we've come, because we used to get pasted 61-7. And at some point, those victories will start to come. So keep going with it. So the game next week is at home. So that's usually in Narberth. And this is why it's difficult doing it on a Wednesday night. So I haven't got details of where it is, but they're playing Coleg Gwent. So a lot of the Newport Academy boys will be there. So if you get the chance.
On a side note, let's not talk about the fixture. If any of you boys are listening, drop us a dime, and if you fancy an interview or coming on the show, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I say next Wednesday, depending on what excuse I can spin with the wife, I might be able to nip out. I say it's usually in Narberth, so fingers crossed. It'll come at some point, guys. It'll come at some point. Stick with it.
Say it's for work. You can go.
I work from home. That's not going to cut the mustard.
Say you've got a second home.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll be worse, right? I think that'll be worse. Right, my friend, we are done once again. We have come to the end of another podcast. So, pleasure as always. I will probably catch up with you at some point at the park on Saturday.
Oh, fingers crossed, definitely.
Yeah, and
I'll be honest, we've gone through this in decent amount of time for us, and we haven't covered a lot of the things that we listed down either.
No, I know, but yeah, I think it's going to be a good game on Saturday. So hopefully, if we can have a catch up beforehand or after. We might even record.
Yeah, you can look after my kids during the game. That sounds good.
we might record the start to next week's program on Saturday after the game, and we'll go from there. So
no, what we'll do, you have your phone at the ready all the time, and when Sosman Vach starts ringing out, you get it on record.
Oh yeah, gotta be. Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that. We'll have that one in there. All the best, my friend. I shall see you on Saturday, and then we'll have another catch up next week. All the best.
And to you, mate. Cool. See you then.
You have been listening to the Westerer is Besterer podcast from the Scarlet Supporters Pems team. You can follow us on Twitter on Scarlet Pems, find us on Facebook with Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire, or email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. And remember, West is best, but Westerer is Besterer. Cheers.
Sports Social Podcast Network.